Stop scrolling. This isn't another food scare. This is a system cracking in public. 36 everyday products, not exotic, not niche, stuff people eat daily. And suddenly, they're under fire. We were told this food was fine, normal, approved. And now, apparently, it's not. That should bother you a lot. Here's the uncomfortable part. This didn't happen overnight. These ingredients didn't suddenly become risky. Research suggests the signals were there for decades. They were just ignored, or buried, or quietly dismissed. This isn't about one cereal or one soda. It's about how the food system works. Cheap inputs, loud colors, long shelf life, and zero accountability when biology pushes back. So if you're thinking, why now? That's the right question. Because when the system starts backing away this fast, it means something underneath is finally impossible to hide. This wasn't some sudden awakening. The system didn't grow a conscience overnight. It was cornered. Maha didn't invent the problem. It dragged it into the light. For years, people compared labels, asked questions, noticed something weird. The same brands, the same foods, different formulas in Europe. Cleaner, simpler, fewer chemicals. And yet, in the US, totally fine, allegedly. That gap mattered. It kept growing. Research suggests regulatory standards didn't follow biology. They followed lobbying, cost, convenience, speed. So Maha shows up, and suddenly everyone panics. Not because they're wrong, because they're loud and public and impossible to ignore. This isn't about one politician or one campaign. It's about pressure reaching a breaking point. When enough people stop buying the story collapses. Let's be honest, no one eats food for the color. Color is marketing, period. 9 synthetic dyes, red, yellow, blue, green, names you've seen 1,000 times on labels and never questioned. And now, they're suddenly a problem. Here's the strange part. These dyes don't add taste. They don't add fuel. They don't support anything biological. They exist for one reason only: to make cheap food look exciting. Research suggests some of these compounds interact with the nervous system, especially in kids. Not prove, not guarantee, but the signals keep showing up, over and over. So when regulators start stepping back, it's not bravery, it's damage control. If a substance does nothing for your body, but might stress it, that's not food. That's decoration with consequences. If you think this is rare, you're already wrong. These dyes aren't hiding in weird supplements. They live in the most familiar places. Breakfast shelves, snack aisles, kids' lunches, party drinks, bright cereals, neon candies, frosted pastries, sports drinks that look like windshield fluid, gelatin cups, gummies, even fun yogurts. Color is the hook, especially for children. And here's the trick. You don't taste dye. You don't feel it immediately. There's no alarm, just long-term exposure layered day after day. Research suggests repeated low-dose exposure matters more than one big hit, especially for developing brains. So if food looks radioactive, that's not an accident. That's a design choice. We were told, relax, it's just color. That sentence aged badly. Color isn't neutral. It's a chemical signal your body never asked for, especially in kids. Research suggests certain dyes are linked to attention issues and behavioral spikes. Not a diagnosis, not a guarantee, a pattern. And patterns matter. When something shows up again and again, across different studies, across different populations, you stop calling it coincidence. If these dyes were discovered today, they'd never pass approval. They survive because they're old, grandfathered in, protected by time, not biology. So no, this isn't panic. It's overdue skepticism. If an ingredient adds nothing useful, yet keeps raising red flags, the real question is simple. Why was it ever there in the first place? Think the dye story ends here? It doesn't. This was the warm-up. There's a second list. Quieter, more uncomfortable. Ingredients that don't just color food, they change it. Titanium dioxide, brominated vegetable oil, potassium bromate, propylparaben, glyphosate. Ultra-processed fillers everywhere. Research suggests these compounds stress systems that handle detox, signaling, and cellular repair. Not dramatic, just cumulative. Slow pressure. Some are already restricted elsewhere, some quietly removed by brands without announcements. No press release, no apology, just gone. That's them reading the room and moving early. Long shelf life, cheap production, high profit. Human biology comes last. So when companies start reformulating before they're forced to, that's not innovation. Stop calling it sugar. That's the first lie. High fructose corn syrup behaves differently. It doesn't register like glucose. It bypasses normal appetite signals. Research suggests it overloads the liver first, fast and repeatedly. That matters, because your liver isn't built for constant fructose hits. Over time, fat builds up, signals get messy, energy drops, hunger gets weird. Not dramatic in one day, brutal over years. And here's the trap. HFCS is everywhere. Soda, sauces, healthy dressings, snack bars pretending to be food. Studies show this pattern lines up with fatty liver trends and metabolic stress. Not a cure claim, not a diagnosis, a direction. So no, it's not about willpower. It's about inputs that quietly break the signal before you even notice. This is where things get uncomfortable and loud. Seed oils aren't rare. They dominate the food supply. Corn oil, soybean, canola, sunflower, safflower, cottonseed, grapeseed, rice bran. The so-called heart-healthy lineup. We were told these oils were modern, clean, better than old fats. And for decades, questioning that was treated like heresy. Research suggests these oils oxidize easily. Heat them, reheat them, store them too long. They break down, byproducts form. Not poison overnight, just constant low-grade stress. That's why the debate won't die. One side says calories are calories, the other looks at chemistry, at structure, at what happens after cooking. So if this topic feels emotional, that's because too much is riding on being right. This is the part nobody explains. Seed oils don't just pass through. Research suggests their fatty acids can embed into cell membranes. That's structure. That's signaling. That's how cells decide what gets in and out. And here's the time problem. These fats stick around. Weeks turn into months, sometimes longer. So when people say, I eat clean now, but still feel off, that lag matters. Oxidized fats create noisy signals. Inflammation markers rise. Recovery feels slower. Not instantly, gradually, quietly. This isn't fear, it's physics. Change the building material and the building behaves differently. So when someone tells you it's just oil, they're skipping the part where biology keeps receipts. The system isn't broken. That's the shock. It's working exactly as designed. Eat ultra-processed food. Feel off, bloated, tired, foggy. Then comes the label, the visit, the prescription. Relief, maybe, for a while. But the focus is often on managing symptoms. The role of diet and lifestyle in potentially addressing underlying causes may need more attention. Research suggests many chronic issues track closely with dietary patterns. Dietary patterns heavily influence many chronic issues. This is not a cure and may not always fully eliminate symptoms, but can heavily influence their severity. Just heavily influenced by what shows up every day on the plate. This creates loyalty, monthly refills, lifetime customers, predictable outcomes. So if you feel stuck in a loop, that's not failure. That's a subscription model. Addressing this cycle may involve considering dietary changes alongside medical advice. Take this food across the Atlantic. It fails. Instantly. Same brands, same logos, different rules. In many European countries, these additives never made it past regulators. Not because Europe is perfect, because they asked a different question. Research suggests diets built around single-ingredient foods create cleaner signals. Meat, eggs, fruit, vegetables. Things with names your grandmother would recognize. So when a product needs 20 ingredients and 3 dyes, that's not convenience, that's engineering. This isn't nostalgia, it's pattern recognition. Fewer ingredients, fewer surprises, fewer biological arguments inside your body. Food should fuel you, not negotiate with your chemistry. Don't wait for permission. It's not coming. You don't need a new law to change inputs. Start boring. Fewer ingredients, real fats, food that spoils. That's a feature, not a flaw. Read labels fast. If it looks like a chemistry set, put it back. Swap soda for water, snacks for meals, seed oils for butter, olive oil, or avocado oil when it fits. Research suggests consistent inputs matter more than perfect ones. This isn't about purity, it's about reducing interference. Vote with your fork. Every day. Quietly. No hashtags needed. Because systems only change when enough people stop feeding them. This was never about one dye, or one oil, or one brand. It was about patterns hiding in plain sight. When food creates noise, the body struggles to read itself. Hunger gets weird, energy dips, signals blur, and the system calls it normal. But once inputs change, feedback changes. Not overnight, not magically, gradually. Predictably. You were never broken. You were responding exactly as biology does. So keep it simple. Fewer ingredients, clearer signals, less interference. That's not extreme. That's alignment. Always listen to your body and consult with your doctor before making big changes. Thanks for listening. Stay curious. Stay sharp.